Well, I think Trump needs to be denied a second term. I think the damage that he's done to the United States, both internationally and domestically, can be repaired. I'm actually optimistic it can be repaired fairly quickly. But I worry that 2 terms of Trump could make a lot of that damage irreparable. And I'm going to be unhappy on election night or whenever the election is resolved one way or the other. I wish we had a real conservative Republican running. We don't. So I'm going to write in the name of a conservative Republican.
Where is the Republican Party if Trump wins?
Well, I think it's probably in trouble. One of the worst things about the Trump presidency is that the philosophical basis of the party has been distorted. And instead of debating policy issues, the debate both within the Republican Party and in the country as a whole is, do you agree with Donald Trump or not? That's not the mark of a mature democratic debate. It should not be based on personalities. It should be based on philosophy.
Just in terms of recent developments, Amy Coney Barrett has now been confirmed on the Supreme Court at record speed. Now, the perception amongst many Americans is that her appointment could secure the presidency for Trump in the event of a close or a disputed race. Could it?
The perception is the perception of ignorant people and politicians. The fact is, and she said last night right after her swearing in, she is independent of the president, independent of Congress, and independent of her own personal views. She looks for the intent of the people who wrote the words to carry out what the words say. And that is the only neutral way for judges to behave. Otherwise, they are amending the Constitution on their own. And let me finish this point. That is anti-democratic. Anti-democratic.
I raise it because, as you know, President Trump has refused to acknowledge a peaceful transfer of power in the event that he loses. And he said his supporters should head to the polls and watch very carefully. What did you interpret that to mean? Did his position on that unnerve you?
Well, nothing he does unnerves me because I understand that everything is through the prism of what benefits him personally. And I think he was trying to sow discord in the body politic. And I think he was looking for excuses. And I think this will be an early test for Republican leaders, office holders, and others, if after the election he tries to manipulate public opinion into believing that he prevailed when he did not.
Let me turn to the book. You called Trump erratic, stunningly uninformed, dangerous. I imagine many people watching this at home will say, well, yeah, you had plenty of time to see that. You watched the campaign. You didn't enter the administration until a year in. What were you actually expecting?
Well, I don't think anybody's ever called me naive. I heard all of those things, to be sure. But I did believe that Trump would be affected by the gravity of the position of the presidency of the United States, and that he would recognize that the weight of the decisions he had to make would affect him in a way that that would make more responsible decision-making possible. And I thought I could help out. And I don't regret it, even if it turned out that I was wrong. Donald Trump was not at all affected by the presidency.
Why weren't you then worried about somebody who you saw as clearly corrupt, who you would have worried about endangering American security?
I was worried about him endangering American security. That's why I tried to move his policies in better directions, and why ultimately, when I concluded that I couldn't do that, I resigned.
But you were given the chance to testify on his impeachment. You were begged to do your duty as a citizen. You refused to tell the American people what you saw and what you knew.
Well, you're absolutely wrong about that. There's a history here that I'd be delighted to lay out, although I'm sure you won't broadcast any of it because it's too complicated. Let me finish. Let me finish, okay?
Can you just clarify? You were asked
Will you let me finish?
trial?
Will you let me finish my
Please,
answer?
just answer the question if you can.
The House of Representatives never issued a subpoena for me. And when they issued a subpoena for my former deputy, the White House ordered him not to testify. The fact is, the advocates of impeachment did a terrible job and made the situation much worse because they impeached Trump, but by their own actions failed to achieve a conviction in the Senate. So the result of the impeachment was to empower Trump, not to constrain him.
You explain in your book that the way you saw the impeachment process was that it wasn't big enough, the parameters weren't wide enough, that it was too politicized. But you still had the chance to say out loud to the people of America what you knew.
And I did that, and it took 500 pages to do it.
Not
and it may
until
be
the book deal.
inconvenient for you as a television reporter who wants answers that last for 30 seconds. But what I tried to do was lay out for the voters to read, and the book is sold very well, so a lot of people are reading it, the full story. And I did that, and I think that was the right course of action.
The point is, I'm sure you did well in the book deal. But if Donald Trump gets re-elected, which you've already hinted would be problematic, presumably you will have to accept your part in that you covered up a criminal act that you knew.
I absolutely did not. I mean, this is really, tell me something, do you work for free?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you don't take a salary, I take it.
I take a salary.
Yeah, of course you do. And that's why I got reimbursed for the book. I didn't cover anything up. In fact, the administration has made something of a precedent in American history by trying to suppress the book. That should tell you what they think of what I've revealed in it.
Okay, so if the House Dems call upon you belatedly to testify, you will do that now, will you?
I am not obliged to follow Nancy Pelosi's orders. I think she and the House Democrats made a severe mistake, and the consequences of their mistake were to empower Trump. I guess you don't see that point. They thought they would deter him, but by failing to get a conviction, they've empowered him. They've made the situation worse by their failed impeachment effort.
Trump said of your book when it was published, if John Bolton had his way, we'd be on World War VI by now. His point is that you made him look like the calm, rational one based on engagement rather than on warfare. Do you accept that?
No, of course not. Look, this is typical of the kind of personal attacks and kind of childish rhetoric that the president engages in. I think it's beneath the dignity of the office of the presidency, so I don't really respond to it.
As you will know, Trump himself campaigned on a platform of no more foreign wars, no more spilt blood, an isolationist policy. Now, you were very much part of that military action. Do you accept that you were part of the swamp, in commas, that Trump came in to destroy? You were part of the problem that created him?
Of course not.
Ambassador Bolton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.